Meeting of the Sedona Fire District Governing Board is now called to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence for the firefighters, first responders, police officers who have passed since our last meeting.
Just to take a moment to remember the 4 police officers that have passed since our last board meeting.
Thank you.
Roll call, Helen McNeil, Chair.
Present.
Corey Cooperman, Clerk.
Present.
Diane Christensen, Member.
Present.
Scott Sprigett, Member.
Present.
Lance Waltrip, Member.
Here.
Chief Mazulis.
Yes. So we've got one member that was on a call on duty today, so he's getting ready. So I'll
Okay.
fill the void with some words. Talk to us. Yeah. Well, once again, we are here to pin new firefighters in our organization, and as we've said before, this is exciting times. This is the future of our organization, and we continue to get an outstanding bunch of folks coming into the fray, and folks that are bringing a lot of background that, you know, not only diversifies our organization, but kind of brings new ideas to the table, and it's exciting to me. These 3 folks all have some relative fire service experience in different ways. That too is diverse, so that's fun. Some of them are 2nd generation firefighters, and that again, as I've stated before, is fun to me. And I'm running out of.
Perhaps we start with someone else.
Yeah, we can start.
Why, yeah, let's start with someone else.
Yeah, we'll start with we'll go backwards forward. So let's start with Brian. Why don't you come up here? So this is Brian Berg, graduate of Red Rock High School. Yeah, he's a local yokel. Diverse background. We published it in emails and everything. It's kind of been all over the place. He is a 2nd generation firefighter. His father retired from FDNY, and we were able to acquire him from another local agency, and we're glad to have you. The unfortunate piece is he does have a relationship with some of our current members, and so he can't avoid all the dirt that he tried to hide because we. He's gonna get pinned by his mother, Patricia, and they all still live in Sedona as well, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, come on up. Very good. So we'll put you over here. We got it. Mom wants good pictures. So okay. This thing's kind of a pain, and if you stab them, it's okay. So there's that, and you just put that through the holes.
Thank you.
He can help you.
The first time I inflicted pain.
Excellent.
All right, next we have Brandy. So this is Brandy. Most recently, she comes to us from Colorado. Diverse background in EMS and fire, and prior to here, you were doing a lot of the incident management team work. So she's got I have to plug this because we have a lot of wildfire fans on the board. She did a lot of work with the incident management teams doing medical stuff. So quite a diverse background, and she was at a paramedic program and had the opportunity to come here to do her clinical time, and said, "Oh, Sedona's not so bad." And she's got an acquaintance that apparently likes our organization too, so he sold us a bit, and she ended up testing and getting a job with us. So pinning Brandy today is the time sheet Miranda. We call him Todd. You know how this works? I think I remember. All right. And last but not least is Kevin. Come on up, firefighter Aylers. I don't got a lot on this guy. He's pretty, and we like him. Now, Kevin's a Marine Corps vet. He after that he did a variety of jobs in wildland and some contract work with the government, and wandered into SFD and worked here for about 5 years, and then moved down to Phoenix for a little bit and did some work down in the Phoenix department, and decided to come back and hang out with us again. So we're super stoked about it, and we're gonna get a badge back on you. And Leia is paying you? Yes. All right, I got it right. Come on up. Oh, you don't have the thingy, so just.
This could be painful.
That's the best guess. Okay. Can we open that for you? They lock. Yeah. So just like kind of in the middle above the button, sort of. We'll fix it.
Just do your best.
Yeah. And if you open, we're okay.
You get that.
Yeah.
You don't have to call back together. That makes it a lot trickier.
Perfect. Welcome to all of you. As part of our academies, as is tradition, all the cadre, I'll let Jordan talk about it. Let's give it over to Jordan.
All right. Well, I know most of you. For those that don't know me, my name is Jordan Baker. I'm a division chief here with Sedona Fire in charge of training and development. Part of those main responsibilities is putting on and coordinating the new hire orientation. So as you're aware, as family members, 3 weeks of training, 150 hours. So we throw a lot at them in a short amount of time. Well, my main job is coordinating. A lot of the cadre that are back here behind you are the ones that do all the work. So those individuals are out there with them 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, and we try to expose them to everything that we do here at Sedona Fire, given that short time frame that we have. With that, every day the candidates, the recruits are evaluated. So each of the cadre get together and they provide an evaluation at the end of the day based on character, work ethic, timeliness, teamwork, and rate them every day of the 3-week orientation. On top of that, every day they're given a quiz on information that they were provided the day before. So they're given a written test the following day, and they're graded, and we tabulate all those scores for the 3 weeks. And at the end of that 3 weeks, we award the top recruit. What we started about 2.5 years ago when I took this job, we call it the Top Run Award for that individual. Now these three are I think it's 20 now that since I've been in the job in 2.5 years that we've put through a new hire orientation. So quite a few in the last 2.5 years. And we've had some pretty close contests in the past with those recruits. The first academy we did when I took the job, we had 9 individuals in 4, now 3, and it's gotten narrow. The band's gotten narrower between first, second, and third place. But I will say this academy was the closest. So of the few hundred points that are awarded for that 3 weeks, there was a 0.5 point difference between first and second place on this one. So I went back and cross-checked it like 3 or 4 times to make sure I was accurate with my math, because it's not my strong suit, but that's what it came up to. So 0.5 point. So the top rung award winner for 2025-2, so the second academy we've done this year, goes to firefighter work. So come on up. Certificate for you. If they have a certificate, and we've got a Stanley mug that's engraved with their name, the firefighter district, and their academy number. So congratulations. Good job. Good job. There you go.
You're required to walk around the station with that mug full of coffee. It's there.
Thank you.
Good job.
So to our new members of the team, we are so glad to have you here. Badge fitting day, I know, is important to you, but it's also important to us, board, and to Sedona Fire. It's a major milestone, and as Jordan has talked about, you've come through a major accomplishment. So we're delighted to have you. The citizens of Sedona thank you in advance and ongoing for your service. And I know that not all of you want to sit here for the duration of our meeting. So what we like to do is take a brief intermission. We'll take about 5 minutes for pictures, congratulations, and all that. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. But if you want to leave, this will give you your chance to sneak out. So thank you, and we'll re-adjourn in 5 minutes. So the meeting will resume. Chief, do we have any members of the public who wish to speak?
We do not.
So then let us move to the consent agenda. And could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the regular meeting minutes of November 18th, 2025?
I'll move to approve them, but I think I need to not vote, I think, because I wasn't here. So I'll abstain from voting.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Then all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. We have one abstention. Okay. Mr. Bolger, is he on the phone?
He is.
Okay.
I am here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Well, perfect. Well, good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. You guys have the November financial report in the packet. Starting off with financials for the month, you'll see total revenue came in at 3.57 million. That was over budget by about 123,000. Property tax collection was a little bit behind by 64,000, but that was made up for stronger non-levy revenue. Wildland billings, timing on the collection of that really attributed to that overage. We did collect 198,000 in the month of November from our previous deployments. On the expense side, we're at 1,731,000 in total expenses for the month of November. That is under budget by $5,000. A couple variances I do want to point out to the board. We do have an overage in personnel for the month by 33,000, mainly attributed to overtime costs. We had a couple things, and Chief, if I missed anything, I know we had an engineers academy, a new hire academy, and position task books, which all kind of attributed to that. However, you will see when we get to, or actually you won't see when we get to year to date, because we are overdue to wildland, but we are actually trending well in totality year to date on our personnel costs. We did have an overage in building and land as well for the month by $11,332. We had HVAC repairs at Station 3, as well as some garage door repair and roof repairs. Vehicles and equipment is under budget by $21,541, as well as communication under budget by $31,429. There was a slight overage in managerial costs for the month, mainly due to some timing on audit related expenses and fees. Next slide. Year to date, we're sitting at $14,500,000 collected through the month of November. That is over budget by $900,000. Tax levies, strong at 12.2 million, or ahead by 134,000. And non-levy revenues sitting at 2.2 million, or over budget by 766,000. A couple things that's really attributed to those non-levy revenues. One, the wildland deployment income, but also our ambulance revenue as well as our investment earnings are all contributing to that variance. On the expense side, we're at 10,259,000 in total expenses through November, which is under budget by 74,000. Under budget by 74,000. However, personnel is over budget by 167,000, and that is being driven by our wages related to wildland deployments and those associated benefits. In addition, buildings and land is over slightly by $30,000. That's all related to facility repairs and maintenance that we've already experienced this year. Next slide. As far as budget expended, we've expended 43%, with 57% remaining. It looks like I think the number got moved there, but just from a reference standpoint, target to this point of the year would be 42%. So we're sitting right where we want to be. Next slide. As far as percentage of expenses, personnel are highest expense at 87%, followed by operations at 6%. Communication at 4% and managerial at 3%. I will point out the personnel is skewed a little higher as a percentage of our total expenses compared to how we budget. And that is because of that overage that we're realizing due to those wildland deployments, and then being under budget on, predominantly all of our other major expense categories, vehicles and equipment, communication, travel and training, and managerial. Next slide. Finally, we ended the month with 23.4 million total cash on hand. That's an increase over the prior year of just over $1 million. Our assets increased from 23.2 to 26.5 million. And that's probably just a function of our investment in our capital assets, the land purchase, as well as apparatus. And then liabilities relatively flat, 33.2 million to 33.7 million. Really, that increase is being driven by timing on accounts payable, as well as our accruals for end leave liability and wages as part of the audit work. And to just kind of update the board on that as well, we are working through the audit. Things are going very smoothly. And the plan is to have Lydia attend the meeting in January to present the audit report and their findings. So with that, unless there's any questions, wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
So do we have any questions for Mr. Bolger?
I don't have a question, but Merry Christmas back to you, Gabe.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. One comment, I noticed the graphs for under, comparing budget to what actually has happened. They're two shades of blue, and they're just hard to see the difference between the two. It'd be nice to go back to a little more contrasting colors.
Okay, I will. I'll work with Christy on that and get some little more contrast on our colors for you.
All right. Thanks.
Any other questions? Well then, Gabe, I will join Corey in saying happy holidays. Have a wonderful time. And we'll look forward to hearing from you in January.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Chief Mazulis,
Yes.
our staff reports. So we begin with Chief Coyle.
Madam Chair, before we move on to that, we do need approval of the finance report.
Oh, my apologies. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. You beat me.
Yeah. I'm obviously already on vacation. What can I say? So, can I have a motion to approve the financial report for the month of November 2025?
I so moved.
I will second it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. We have your motion, Gabe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Coyle.
Thank you. All right, so within my area of purview, start with police. Right now, they have finished, I like to provide maybe like 2% input, but Elise and Fiona finished the admin generalist position update, which was cool because we'd already started talking about what additional functionality in that position would be useful. And so they memorialized that, and we will open up that position on December 22nd for 4 weeks to fill the vacancy that's been created. And Elise has also been working on compiling all the SFD contracts and agreements. Big lift, big lift. And there's always surprises. I don't think we've had a week where we haven't had a surprise. We're trying to get where we're less surprised in the future. 18 months. And 18 months. And then the rest of it is put here, continue to evaluate workflows and update as needed. But I would say that in addition to evaluating, that she and I and Kuhn and I have had similar conversations that the goal is to build frameworks and to implement doctrine that makes it where we can be more effective downstream and we're not spent so much time trying to put out fires or do things that setting a system up will take more time now, but will allow for us to be more successful in the future. So that's certainly an overarching goal. Moving on to human resources, we had to educate it on the one was it the bill, whatever the term was for that the no tax on overtime thing doesn't really mean much, and it's not up to the agency to adjust your taxes. That's up to you to figure out with your tax accountant and the bill back. But frankly, for firefighters at the wages they earn, yeah, they're laying awake at night hoping to get a big bonus out of the deal. It's not going to happen. So they also put out the awards notice, and if you didn't see the notice, this is when pretty much we have like a legit what they're called those people, a graphic artist, yeah, graphic designer. That I was blown away. When you guys see your email, you'll see the awards announcement. It is next level. In their promotional assessment, anticipate 15 candidates, Richard Baker can hit on some of that, so I'll leave it there. And then IT specialist recruitment version, whatever, 4 opens on Monday, and will also be open for 4 weeks. And Gwen is now notary, so we have 2, I believe. Now, a couple little logistics things. PP side, this work because it's expensive, so we have turnout standards on how they be replaced, and we have to have a backup set because when you get covered with all sorts of toxic and so the 13 sets estimated to be about $54,000 to replace them. So yeah, that's one of the things that logistics working on. Also, the backup extrication tool set got delivered, so that's super cool because it's like everything else. Battery, I remember back in the day when they were first trying to sell us on battery ones and couldn't cut through this shipping post that lives inside the dashes. And now, man, they're as good or better than gas ones, and a lot easier to get down in the cars. But direct don't always end up in places where it's super easy to get the big pack down there.
Like a Foco.
And then wildland program, they had a training for the BK radios. You were probably, if you look at radio, if you push the button, you talk on it, I don't know what you should do, but yeah, there's a lot more to it. And especially when you're on a wildland fire where you have multiple different frequencies and you're in a position where you have to monitor them all, or because you go to somebody else's area and you have to change frequencies in different groups. So they had a training on the different radio stuff to make sure people that give that higher level of knowledge, who know the radio tech, so we can make sure that everybody knows how to get on the right frequency. They're going to conduct a seasonal after action review, capture lessons learned, use that to inform future training and operational improvements, and planning for a task force leader class to train individuals internal, so they have at least they've been exposed to the requirements of being a task force leader. If they wish to continue to further their wildland with a task force leader, perform that position, they live and develop a greater level of competency. And Mr. Lewis over here, our TRT battalion chief, sent me a text on a call they had. So Greg Johnson has probably been, I don't know, he's been on the sharp end of the rope probably more than anybody, I would imagine. He's hanging underneath helicopters or enforced now. I guess it's not as sharp of an end of the road, but. And on 12/10, SFD and partner agencies executed a complex rescue in Long Canyon. Individual was significantly injured. They had inaccurate coordinates, limited ground access, and they had to do air search and then vertical hoist. Brent and another one of the DPS medics went in there, provided care to this individual who had multiple broken bones and internal injuries. The individual was flown to Flagstaff Medical Center, and he's still alive. He's doing well. He's stable. He's got a long road ahead of him. But what Eric brought up, that was what I thought was the great part about this was that you could talk about the call that happened. And, hey, good job, you guys did well. But he brought up the point. He goes, "What we have these calls more frequently. More people, I joke and say that people come here to climb up on the pretty red rocks, and sometimes they fall off of them. And what do we do when we don't have GPS? So now we have this new asset that makes it a lot better. But the calls are still going to happen absent that. So he and the TRT leadership are looking at ways that they can make sure that they're training the type of equipment that they have, whether it's just the equipment for the element, or their personal equipment for the elements, or the type of rope equipment, allows us to still be successful on those days when maybe the visibility or just regular maintenance on a helicopter, or the helicopter could be en route and it throws a chip light or something else that causes it to not be able to respond to the call. We can still have a high degree of certainty that we can effect the rescue, and our personnel can do so safe, and they're not waiting until then to pivot. And that's key, right? And so that is my report for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
We had any opportunities as recently to engage with other stakeholders and agencies?
Oh, yes, as a matter of fact, I have. So,
I think Diana might be.
okay, I'll give you two of them. So I had the opportunity to attend the NATO C2COE, it's called, so the Command and Control Center for Excellence in Rotterdam this year with 250 other people. I, again, was the only fire person there.
Wow.
And so it was pretty interesting because it's invitation only. And I write up that I will get to Missoula, but basically, they call them MDO, multi-domain operations. So with Russia right now at a degree below armed conflict, there's a lot of things going on that can impact us. And there's a lot of things that they are deliberately doing to impact the West. And so it resonated with me. It just struck me that it's all hazard. It's our all risk fire department. There's all these different things. So yeah, you have your one main thing. You can say it's structural fire. We can say it's EMS. That thing that when it happens, you know exactly what to do, and it's apparent, and it's, everybody rallies behind it. But then you have all that other stuff that you have to be proficient in. And how do you maintain proficiency? How do you make sure you have procedures that don't allow technology fixes that or what people perceive as technology fixes to be basically not do the job, but you think they're going to do the job. And I didn't say that very well, but it is. We get people trying to sell us new stuff all the time about how we're going to, whether it's an ESO, another program that's going to help us do this, or it's going to raise our situation awareness. And when you peel it back, it's the coordination and how people are working together, and that you have clean processes like what Eric's doing with the TRT team to be able to do that. That is more important than the technology. The technology, you should be able to leverage the technology, but if you don't have that other stuff, it's not going to fix it. That was like, sounds pretty obvious, but it was interesting to see that was something that happened at our scale, and it was certainly something Nate was doing right now. And then the other thing, and I'm going to be cryptic about this because about where exactly we're at, because the Undersecretary of Interior commissioned a review of the Dragon Bravo fire, and it's the first time that a review has been commissioned of a wildland fire at that level. Normally, it is at an agency level at the highest, so we the Park Service, whatever. This is different. There's 12 people that we're on the review committee that is going over everything associated with that to provide recommendations and change. And I guess I've done reviews before that participated in them, and normally it's like a term paper. This is like a dissertation. All the different in the level of analysis and the amount of information and stuff we have to go through. So it's going to be, I think, by the end of January, it will stop being such a heavy lift, but between now and then, we'll be in a lot of people that want to find out what's going on. I think it's really important. Their names will be at the bottom of the sheet, and we make sure that we have an objective and defensible outcome.
How many agencies are involved in that?
Let's see, the review, there's 4 different agencies involved at different levels. 1 person from local government, 1 person from state government, and then several from federal government.
And they're only looking at fire department, or are they looking,
At the entire Dragon Bravo from when it was discovered until the end of the event.
so they're looking at the county, the forest department?
We have had 56 interviews, and they've touched on every one of those areas that we've said. And so far, and we're almost.
Right.
It's going to take some.
And we'll get to see the report in the end.
You will. There will be a public report in the end. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Chief Rudell?
Good afternoon. This will be brief. There's not a whole lot that's been going on. We have been busy with inspections and all that. And as far as data goes, we're still learning our first new software. It wasn't a flip of the switch, so it's taking some time to work out a lot of bugs, but we're getting there. My interim deputy fire marshal Brian Russell has been working a lot on this, more than I thought he would have to. But he's been really plugging away, so that's great. As far as events go, we did a car seat event, and it wasn't ours. It was joint with the Verde Valley and Copper Canyon, and this was down at the casino. And I had no idea, this was my first event that I attended, that I was going to get there at 8:30 and it started at 9, and the cars were lining up. And my breakfast burrito didn't get eaten until we were done. So that's how we did 40 cars.
Wow.
There's 4 of us there, so it was pretty good. And that's something we have to have as a certification. We have to have an event every 2 years. You have to be certified. There's a lot to this. I never do.
Yeah.
But I got myself into it.
The car seat installation validation class is 5 days.
It's 3.
3
They
days.
narrowed it down to 3. It was 3.5.
Yeah.
And it's every bit of 3.5. That was. Yeah. So there was that, and Stuff the Bus. That was the event they did for with the city of Sedona and Toys for Tots and the crews at Station 1. Took the engine over to escort the bus full of toys from with PD. It was code 3 down 89A on way to the posse grounds, and then they distributed the toys to whoever's Tots kids again.
I got 2 texts on that. Why is PD chasing an ambulance? And I said, it's Toys for Tots. Everybody stay calm.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It is good. I got video of it. So. And last thing, the Rainbow Trailer Park smoke alarm walk, that didn't happen twice because of weather. Let's just call it what it is. I did go back in there and met up with them, and the 5 people that did sign up for it, I went in and made sure they got taken care of, so there wasn't going to be, so nothing happens. And we got them back on the schedule for Rachel. On that right now. That's still a go. Hopefully, the snow melt will be over the bridge in April. Yes.
Great.
And for right now, that's all I've got.
Good stuff. Chief Rudell, thank you. Okay, and I believe Chief Lukowski is not here, so I'm turning to
He
you.
is on vacation. EMS activities and updates. Continue to cycle through training, working on just kind of a strategic plan for continued investment in putting people through medic school. We're fortunate with this recent hire, the folks you met tonight, 2 of them are coming in as paramedics. So that's a benefit. We've got 3 people in class right now. And we're working with labor, our buzz is working with labor because we've now entered into an era where we've got more people interested for medic programs than we can support spots. So they're developing an entrance exam, if you will, select folks. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing that we have. Usually we're like, come on, you'd be a great medic. You should try it. We're begging people to go. And now we're having to figure out how to select who goes first. And so that's been a big stuff. It's also been working a lot with the labor RBO, relationship by objective is what we call these committees, on with our medical director, Dr. Lotz, and they're working on reducing gear needs and changing how we carry our gear to reduce the weight of what we carry into the backcountry. And this is the first time we've ever engaged with our medical director with this process. And so it expedites it, because the bright idea fairies will come in with an idea, and then Buzz has to temper it, but then we can get the okay from the doctor to change something right there in the committee. So it's a kind of a neat process. And there's a few other RVOs they're working on. We've got a budgeted fire truck for this year, and what Buzz has asked that RVO to do is just do a quick check of what we had delivered last year and say, hey, is there anything related to safety or response that these trucks lack? And it's going to be a quick committee so we can get a proposal to the board for the budgeted truck. And then other than that, Mike and Reese are just plugging away. Reese just got his CDL, so that's a big deal. And we didn't know it was we didn't know it was going to happen. It was tough, but he did it. And then really, I think Buzz more specifically, and me to some extent, just kind of waiting for the first, third week of January when they start launching all the legislative stuff. Because it is our feeling that there's going to be a lot of EMS related stuff that might be impactful, as there has been the past few years. So just kind of getting feelers out statewide and getting prepped to be in the know on that, so that we're not surprised by anything. And so that's some of the big stuff that's going on with Buzz.
So Chief, how many people can put through the EMS program?
We have set a limit of 3, and it's multi-factor. The budget piece is relative. We could always request more and do more, but then you get into some staffing concerns and just coverage issues and things like that. And so it's a happy medium, that because it's an 8-9 month commitment, and so balancing that against vacations and competing trainings and things like that, sick leaves and things like that. 3 is kind of the sweet spot we found where we can support it, and it's not impactful to response or overly disruptive to overtime and things like that. And just forecasting need and what we've set for how many billeted spots we want at each station for paramedics. 3 with trickling in new hires that already have a paramedic cert seems to be the right number to keep us in the right spot. And we may have to adjust that, probably, evaluate it 2029 to 2032, because we're gonna have kind of the mass exodus during that period of time. So I'm keeping an eye on it.
Any other questions for Buzz
Yeah,
temporarily?
but,
Okay, great. Thank you, Chief. Okay, Chief Baker.
Well, good afternoon, board. First, I'd take responsibility for some of that personal overage, in the budget. I knew it was going to be pretty heavy this fall as far as training went. We're prepping for the engineer's exam that Chief Coyle talked about, and I'll talk a little more about here in a minute, in February. So with that, we put on an engineer's academy. We did have 17 individuals that went through that, and we were able to, I mentioned that in the previous board meeting, we were fortunate to have staffing to cover some of those individuals who already attended, but that was a big deal to get 17 individuals into the class plus 4 instructors, and that was a 3-day academy. So kudos to the individuals that backfilled and helped cover those shifts, and the battalion chiefs that got those shifts filled, but that was a big portion of the personnel cost. Shortly thereafter, we had the engineer position task book evaluations, which I haven't talked to you about yet. So we had 8 to 9 evaluations. And what that is individuals, firefighters that are wanting to move up into that engineer position and prepared for the examination, the assessment center. So to be able to be qualified to drive, they have to go through an evaluation, which They complete their task book and then they do a written test and then they do a practical portion of that. With that many individuals, we had to do 2 days of evaluations because each evaluation takes about 3.5 hours. So we had 8 to 9 individuals go through for the evaluations and then 3 evaluators for each day. So again, that was a heavy lift, long days. I was out there with them, reloading hose on each one of those evaluations, and each day was, at least 10 hours, I would say. So it was a lot. And then right after that, we started the new hire orientation the next week. So we rolled right into 3 weeks, 10 hours a day of training with the new hires. And it was 10 hours a day, sometimes a little more. So we'll try to get all that information to get them ready to hit the floor, ready to run. Day one, if we get a working call, we're confident in their ability to be able to handle their responsibilities for that day. So thanks to Chief Mazulis, 2.5 years ago, freeing me up and allowing me to change the way we do the new hire orientation. A lot of feedback I'm getting from the crews on the floor and the captains specifically is very beneficial. Having those individuals come in with a more comprehensive understanding and complete knowledge of what we do, to be able to work some of those basic incidents without having to worry about their too much. So, but that was a lot. In addition to that, we sent a captain to the Blue Card instructor training. So now, along with Chief Lewis, myself, and now Captain Tarver, we have 3 instructors that are qualified to train our individuals in Blue Card, which is our incident command system. So Chief Lewis has done a great job putting those quarterly trainings on. We integrated a lot of that into some of our assessment centers, especially at the captain and battalion chief or higher level. So now we have 3 instructors where before Chief Wachowski was helping out a little bit, but a lot of the weight fell on Chief Lewis's shoulders, and he was responsible for all the quarterly trainings in the assessment centers. And that was a lot for one individual. Done a great job. But to lighten that load a little bit, now we have 2 additional instructors to help him with that. So that was some of that overtime cost, but I think the benefit of that would be definitely worth the investment. So that's some of the completed training we've done. Fire training, I haven't talked a lot about it, but some of the post-secondary education stuff that we've got going on with our individuals, because a lot of the fire stuff falls under me for me to approve it. We've got multiple individuals, and next board meeting, I'll try to get an exact count for you that are enrolled in associate degree programs. So their fire science program, fire science degree, and that allows them to take that next step into a company officer role. In addition to that, we've got 2 individuals that are enrolled and making great progress in bachelor's degrees right now, which is that next step for battalion chief, which is, in my opinion, very beneficial. Helps those individuals prepare for a lot of the administrative duties that come with being a battalion chief that you find out once you're in the seat that you don't know about until you're there. So it's good to see these individuals seeking secondary education, furthering their education. One of the individuals in the bachelor's degree program, I just proved some class requests for him. He's rocking and rolling. He's taking a lot of classes. So kudos to them, and it's really exciting for me to see that those individuals taking that next step on education. Some of the upcoming training, we've got B shift battalion live fire training this Friday. So we'll be down at the training center with B shift when they come off duty. So we'll be putting 24 individuals through our annual live fire training. Last year, we did all 3 battalions in 1 week, kind of reset everybody, get everybody back to where we needed to be. And now we're on a 3-year rotation. This year happens to be B shift. So we'll run through some live fire scenarios with their companies and do some integration with blue card training with that. It's always a good training, a good time. So that's this Friday. Got some joint training with Sedona PD coming up, possibly in January and February. So integrating with Sedona PD here at Station 1 on some very important training. More details to come with both of those companies. I'll be reaching out to the board to see if you all like to attend possibly that January training. C Shifts Battalion extrication training is coming up at the beginning of January. So much like live fire, every 3 years, we rotate a whole battalion through their extrication training with our trainers, our instructors. And it's 5 to 6 hours of extrication training, new techniques that our instructors have learned, as well as refreshing on some of the usage of some of the new tools that Chief Will talked about that we've got in hand now, so we can take those down there as well. Possibly looking at an online training platform change. We've been using Fire Rescue One for a number of years. Believe there's better options out there, so we're exploring some of those options right now. I'm demoing a couple and talking to some of our neighbor agencies to see if we can't maybe get online with some of the platforms that they're using that they're having good enough with. So more to come on that as well. exciting stuff from a strategic standpoint, integrating systems and platforms for training, which will be nice. Before I'll talk about the Engineers Assessment Center in February, going to be a big logistical lift. So the Engineers Assessment Centers are usually the most time consuming and involve the most logistics just because of apparatus and the types of scenarios we saw. Right now, we've got 2 weeks blocked off for that. Anticipate upwards of 16 individuals testing, which is going to be huge. I don't think we've ever had that many individuals test at one time here at Sedona Fire before, which is great. That many people are interested in testing, and it's going to be very competitive, but it is a huge logistical lift. So we've already been having some planning sessions on it. We have another one coming up on Monday to get ahead of the curve. Make sure we've got everything covered before February. And then Chief Coyle also talked about the task force leader class coming up. Chief Miranda will be instructing that. It's a 2-day class in January, and that's also a prerequisite for the classroom portion for the battalion chief position. So a lot of those individuals that are looking at promoting into the battalion chief position eventually down the road will be in that class as well. So as far as the wellness, I mentioned it's all global. That has their physical therapist, and the physical therapist techs will be starting their monthly visits with us. I believe it's January 13th. So they'll be on site at Station 4 beginning January 13th to start running our individuals through some screenings, and if they're having any problems, being able to address that in preventative versus reactive. So that's all I've got.
So are there any questions?
Questions?
You have 16 people you're thinking are gonna
Possibly.
go to the engineers class. How many positions do you have?
So that's the Engineers Assessment Center. So that's actually the promotional process. Right now, we don't have any positions available, but that is a 3-year list. And within 3 years, Chief Missoula probably has some numbers for you as far as how many we're anticipating vacant. But for me, it's even more exciting that we don't have any positions open, and I still anticipate that many people testing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's very competitive. I mean, the expectations and the standards here in the last 2-3 years have just got incrementally higher every year. And I'm glad I tested when I did, because I wouldn't want to test right now. I'll tell you. It's that competitive.
So answer best I can right now. We cycle, every process is every 3rd year right now, captain, battalion chief engineer. So we establish a promotional list. And right now there are 12 individuals in an engineer position or higher that are in the deferred retirement option program and can literally leave at any time. In addition to that, there's another 5 to 8 that just hit their 20, again, can leave at any time. So we'll have an existing fresh list to choose from if that happens. Now, organizationally, that deferred retirement option program, it's basically you retire, and it's a system that's a 5-year window where you can work up to 5 years, but then you have a hard expiration date. You are not authorized to work beyond that date. So that it was a program developed so that primarily with police departments, they were losing all their tenured folks, and then it trickled into fire. So it was developed quite a few years ago to incentivize people to stay a little bit longer, and but they don't have to. So, but what it does do for us as far as succession planning goes is I have 12 employees that have an absolute expiration date on them. So from a planning perspective, it gives us very clean, a very clean way to know when we need what we need. And so for SFD, the exodus starts in 2028 and is pretty substantial through 2031. And that those are known right now, have to leave vacancies. So
Can they leave before 2028?
oh yeah. We've got this is within 5 people, right? We've got 26 people that can leave right now, fully pensioned. So essentially, what a third of our operational workforce can leave right now if they choose to, fully pensioned and move on.
And when you say they can move on, can they move on to other fire departments
They can.
in Arizona?
They can, and you can't return to the organization you worked for in the same position. There's some rules, but if you want to go elsewhere, a lot of people do is they'll retire out of public safety and then they'll go to another organization and they enter into the Arizona State Retirement System. And so it's the different system. And Scott. Yeah, Scott. And so, so while we've had a few surprises over the past few years, not in a negative way, it's just folks, something came to them and they had planned to do another 5-10 years. And they're like, this thing popped up and they're like, I have to leave. I have to go do this.
And I would say of the individuals that were in that deferred retirement program that have since retired, I would say 80%, maybe more, don't make it to that 5-year mark.
Yeah.
It seems like people usually leave early. They don't make it all the way to 60 months. So having that 3-year list of freshmen ready to go.
Yeah.
If next year 5 people decide, hey, I'm done. And that opens up 5 engineer spots with so many people testing. Hopefully we have an established list of, more than 5. So hopefully all 15 make the list or 16 make the list. And now we've got a lot of depth as an organization to pull from when any of those surprises do happen. But
We'll also have an idea if we go through the list fast.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, exactly. And again, going back to having 16 individuals testing, it's going to give us a lot of depth. If we get 5, 6, 7 people that leave,
Yeah.
we're able to still fill those spots. So it's exciting for me to see. We had quite a few tests for captain, but almost double this amount testing for engineer now, if everybody puts in. The letters of interest are due, I think, January 7th.
And your lists, they're numbered by who scores the highest.
Correct.
Yep.
And are you required to take
We have
them?
a rule of 3s.
Thank you.
Yes, if for a variety of reasons, somebody creates an environment where we may need to forego their promotion for a bit, we have mechanisms to do that.
So yeah, exciting stuff. Like I said, but it's going to be a logistical lift for 2 weeks, getting that many individuals through and evaluators here to evaluate them. Put on, the quality of process that we've done the last, I believe, 4 or 5 years now. Again, we've really stepped up incrementally every year and provided some great individuals to fill those positions. So, exciting. Any other questions?
Don't see any. Chief Baker, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief Mazulis, over to you.
All right, I'm going to do something a little different this month with Fire District Financials and take a walk down SFD history lane. As it relates specifically, it'll tie into the board action communication that Mr. Motes has developed. And I've got my historians here, Chief Coyle and Suiza, that can interject with if I misstep on the history. But one, I want to express my appreciation for the support from the board. Specific to our radio project, we're heading into year 15 of trying to get something going to upgrade our radio system. And we started that process, actually moving forward last year. But historically, just to give the board some perspective, we had it boiled into the bond proposal that we submitted and failed to the community. And then when I was about 4.5 weeks into my tenure as fire chief, I got some emails from a group called Pegasus, and Chief Troutman had initiated a comprehensive systems analysis of our radio system. And that report was delivered to Chief Coyle and I in October of 2022. It's a 249-page report, and I'd be glad to send it to you. It's good reading, but I wanted to share some highlights from that report. And again, these are 2022 numbers. Their estimation for us to develop additional radio sites, facilities improvements, our network layers, and our radio system was $24.6 million. And that was a shocker being a month into fire chief and wondering how we're going to do this. So Bob came to me and said, while their analysis of our system needs are accurate, I don't think that's the cost we're going to have to bear. So we then tasked Bob with developing the situation we're in today, where we partnered with Zetron Codan and started working towards that. So specific to the radio project, which we're in the midst of right now, the land mobile radio equipment. The Pegasus report estimated we were gonna spend $8.5 million to upgrade our radio system. And I won't get into the numbers specific to the BAC till we get there in the agenda, but I just wanted to provide that historical perspective of what it was that steered myself and staff to work towards where we're at today. This has been a legacy project and concern, and that's kind of some of the history on that. If anybody doesn't have any questions, I'll move on to the next item.
Any question? Continue on.
Now to more exciting stuff, capital project updates. Station 5, we're working on getting the language right so that we can, I would like to submit something that's substantially complete to the state, and we're working on some details with that. And I think I do not recall if I've mentioned this the entirety of the board. I know I've talked in our one-on-ones, but and Elise can correct me if I'm wrong, but on a good day, if everything goes right, we're looking at about 2 years before we would be in a position to talk about spending any dollars on a Station 5 development because of how the vetting process works with the state and the feds. So as it informs our current and upcoming budget discussions, that's just something I wanted to plant. So if you look at our capital budget, we do have dollars programmed for Station 5 the next few years, and we probably won't realize that because of just how the system works. And but we are working to move forward with Station 5. Now, Station 4, Scott diligently worked with Core and got them to knock $100,000 off their first blush estimate.
Good job.
Yeah. And I also want to remind everybody that the built-in contingencies are about 1.7 million on their first conceptual cost estimate. And they've indicated that the cost estimate that we received is their quote worst case scenario. I think that's what I asked as a direct quote, is this worst case. And I provided all of you with that cost estimate concept from Core. If you want, I'll break out specifically the last 2 pages, which is their established timeline. And I think that's more informative. So because of the complexity of the timeline, I wanted to hit some highlights, and I can get into the details if you want me to. But I think knowing this board, you're chomping at the bit for what's happening right now. And we received notification today that the city has scheduled a meeting with us for a pre-construction review of what you see behind you. And that will be the kind of the go, no go. We kind of cheated and had them come in and peek at it. So I anticipate good results from that meeting. It's January 7th. And then after that, we'll work to schedule a public meeting where we present. LEA does some nice poster board assembly, and we have a public meeting. We'll invite the public in to look at the project and discuss concerns or questions they may have. And if the outcomes of both of those are positive, which I don't anticipate they won't be anything but positive, through about April, early May, we're really going to get in the weeds on sub panels and colors and bricks and all of those things. And then Core will get into a position where they can start ordering some of the long lead time stuff. And right now it's garage doors and electrical boxes, believe it or not. For some reason they're at a premium. So they will start to order and stack that stuff up so it's ready for construction. And then midsummer, in the spring, we'll do the asbestos abatement. And then so it's the building's open to our crews to go train on it, cut it up, the old bank building, and do some good training on a structure. And then demo will happen late summer, guaranteed maximum price will come to the board July, August. And then you vote to approve moving forward. And then it's off to the races. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the middle of that, but bottom line is they anticipate we'll be getting keys to move in November of 27. Is the anticipated move-in date. So They say October, but I'm gonna give it a month of fudge room because you never know. But that's essentially the established timeline. And I wanted to see if there's any questions on that.
See the parking lot, it's lots been, taped off.
Well, temporarily, we,
I usually park there.
yeah, so if it's still taped, we'll remove it. That was a miss on us. So thanks for the lead in, unintended, but we had the core drilling done. They went down 18 feet. And, as the late Sal Di Giovanni predicted, that previous orchard is wonderful construction medium for us, which means the potential exists to reduce costs for excavation and lot preparation.
That's great.
That's not the case at current station.
No springs.
No springs, no rocks. Yes, so the process is moving along well, and as it should. It's much slower than I anticipated, but I've never built a large commercial structure before. So
Chief, in terms of the city and their approval, how do you anticipate the timeline on that?
yes,
That's good.
so Scott specifically and a little bit of me, I've made the statement. I think as public safety partners and as government partners, we're going to work towards an environment where we have an opportunity to not hold each other up. And I think they have some needs from us and we have some needs from them. And I think we can work collectively to make sure this process stays on track.
Great,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
great.
All right, moving on to the call line and response times. Only one rupture or explosion this month, and I do not know what that call was. It's probably on Louis' shift because he's getting all the hard stuff lately. As per usual, rescues and EMS are our top call. And then, good intent service calls and everything's trucking. I do want to mention false alarm calls. Those are tedious and they generally happen in the middle of the night. And sleep disruption for the right reasons is okay, but lack of maintenance of alerting systems is not. And so Kirk's done a really good job. He's a dog on a bone. If he checks our call report every morning, and if he sees a trend with it, and we'll see it. We'll see a certain hotel or commercial property have an uptick in false alarms. They're doing maintenance. They didn't report whatever the case may be. Kirk's done a really good job of getting right out to those businesses and saying, hey, what's going on? Because it takes our resources away from emergencies for these false alarms. So, and we'll see it periodically. Years ago, we had a school in the village that was notorious for false alarms, and through our efforts with CR, we assisted them in understanding the urgency of getting their system fixed.
And are we finding them?
We haven't yet.
We have the ability to find them, and we do send the threat. But my intent is I would rather you take that fine money and fix this now, so I don't have to come back here again, as opposed to me saying, for example, Seven Canyons, where we tallied it all up and I could have hit them with about $1,000 or better. And instead of that, I had the manager, the owners, he had the fire sprinkler company, had the alarm company, and we all sat in a room. We figured this out. And we haven't been out there. Now, we did get a call the other night out there, but that was for a legit. Somebody put a blanket on a candle. But since then, we haven't been out there. So that's
Great.
I'd rather use that for leverage to get the problem solved than we just keep. If it's a big corporation, they want to throw money at it. Like, okay, here. And then we're still going out.
It kind of our philosophy is if he goes out and they're receptive to his feedback and they indicate they're aggressively working towards a solution, then that's how we treat it. But if they blow us off or treat it like it's a non-issue and don't don't appreciate the fact that they're keeping our resources away from emergencies, and we'll have a heavier hand.
Good.
And so far, everybody's sorry, we're working
Yeah.
on it.
I think they're all very receptive. Now lately, I found out I was coming in this morning, getting ready to go visit a couple of places, and then come to find out there was APS power outages. So they had like multiple false alarms going off all over the place, but I can't really go after them for an APS power.
But he keeps up on it. He's just looking for the day. All right, next slide.
You doing too well.
Station 3 for the win. Somehow they also maintain some of the, they compete with one, but that you talk about from a morale perspective, they're both very happy crews at those stations. They like being occupied. And, Mother Village, as they call it, has been angry a few nights this month. And that's what the crews describe when they're up all night. Mother Village was angry. And so I think it's nice. They take ownership of this village. But in Station 5, bringing up the rear. But they're keeping up the north wall. That's a Game of Thrones reference if anybody watches.
I tried you.
And this is so hard for me to read, but the different responses you can see, the colors. I'm with Corey. Work on the colors a little bit.
I think the one that's jumping out to me right now is Station 6 has 22 responses within their first due, and then they have 25 responses within someone else's. And of those, the majority are backing up Station 3.
And this is one of those data sets that informs our decisions. And some of our guys did some work recently to look at what if we just move that ambulance to Station 3? And so those are the conversations we have. And so nothing's in stone and nothing's off the table. It's looking at our response and how we can best serve. And I just lost my thought. That's it. And travel times, dispatch handling times. This is perpetually going to move around. Dispatch is always hiring, and we'll see that trend tick up a tiny bit sometimes if they get a large batch of new hires, because it's just learning the process, and then it evens out. We really look at the year-over-year changes to help inform, specific to some of that stuff. And in total response times, again, they depend on how the calls are compressed for the month, and then unit travel time, median average. Those looks really good. I wanted to talk about this. Some of these data sets, and I think I've talked to you all about it. As we, this will be the last month of collectible data for a few months. We for 40 years, we've been under the NIFR system, National Fire Incident Reporting System, and federal mandate 2023 will mandated that the fire service come up with a new software tracking program, and it's called NERIS, National Emergency Response Information System. Right? Yeah, I got it. And it's not to take the reports we use and plug them into NERIS, because our current reporting system, every call type is got a number to it. We've got 321T as an interfacility transport, and they got rid of the numbers now. And so the feds now, it's more fillable, drop down menus. And, this is formal, but like they might have called it a residential structure fire, and now it's called a house fire. So, and the software company is not unique to ours, but across the spectrum, really didn't come out with direction on how to build their reports and do their data until this month. So our crews are currently training on it. And why I say there'll be a lag in data is, one, we're going to have a completely new system. So we're going to have to fill those columns with data. And two, we're going to look at, quality assurance on that data as our crews learn how to put it in right. And so You look like you have something to add.
Oh, I was just, no,
It's a mess.
the issue is, one of the problems that they've addressed is that there were so many codes before and they weren't descriptive. So it'd be like, if you don't understand the language and somebody says that, hey, that's probably your alternator, not your engine. You don't know what alternator engine is, it doesn't mean, so that was like the words, so people would, you look at that good intent calls, see a variant thing that says, that we had a vegetation fire that is crops, which has happened before. Because there's so many different kinds of vegetation fires. So it created issues with having data that actually inform decisions. And so is the one good thing about this is it's going to have far fewer of those. So there's less likelihood that someone's going to call an alternator, an engine, or a field fire, something else, because that would happen a lot. The descriptions just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe 40 years ago.
Yeah, I did all of our trainings and to me, it makes good sense, but we'll see how that information is distributed over our crews, and we're gonna keep working with our folks. Thankfully, we sent a few folks out here to the ESO conference, which is the software we use, and they did a deep dive into prepping for this. So hopefully our lift will be lighter than a lot of organizations. And then and Chair McNeil shared with you all the New York Times article. Yay, software is now in the fire truck world. Good for us. Yeah, so in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, we adopted ESO, and it was primarily for EMS. But then right away they bought out the other software we use, and we looked like we were winning because we accidentally were ahead of the curve. But then now we'll see how it goes going forward. And in ambulance road times, hour and 22 minutes. When that creeps up further, we'll be watching. All right, next thing.
You want to talk about this now?
Wait. All right, so we're moving into item A.
Yes, we're moving into the possible approval of the change order for the Zetron radio infrastructure project in the amount of $1,396,025.
All right, so I'm gonna, we have Bob's descriptor. I want to explain it in a little more detail. So when we started the radio upgrade, as mentioned in the VAC, we got to substantial build, which would allow us to replace our current system and modernize it to P25 compliance and improve what we have and have something that's functional and modern. Knowing that in years to come, I referenced the Pegasus report earlier, they had a 10-year build out plan for our radio system, which incorporated opportunities to add sites, to improve layers, to expand our coverage. We weren't prepared for that when we brought to the board the initial vote to improve our current system. Since that time, that was June of 2024. Since that time, we've had some opportunities with the airport, with different locations, cities annexation and the wastewater treatment, and in some private areas to what I call it phase 2. Bob hates that I call it that, but the expansion pieces come to fruition sooner than we anticipated. With that, and the reason why Bob doesn't like the phase 2 descriptors, because it's really a change order as described in this VAC. But this wasn't a surprise, like, oh shoot, we forgot these. We didn't anticipate we were going to have these opportunities as soon as we did. However, we did plan for contingencies. The original BAC approved in June was for 2.4. However, we budgeted a little bit over that for this year and next year for contingencies if an opportunity presented itself. So I wanted to explain that because while the cost is 1.396, the actual burden not currently budgeted is 692,000. because of those contingencies we built in. That's the difference in the two numbers. And based on some other capital IT related projects that we have on the books for the next couple of years, I don't anticipate the third year financing to be that 692. I anticipate it to be closer to three or south of $300,000 in that third year if we have to. But what doing this now does, it allows us to build those components for those current, the current project we have approved, and have the components ready to add in to expand our coverage, all at the same time. And I think it'll just keep, I know it'll keep the train moving. And it also aligns with, we add some additional channel coverage. We have some redundancies in channels, and it aligns with the city. Also has a change order ask that they'll be taking to the city council next month in relation to this project, because they added some channels they didn't anticipate they were going to have, and then they added some coverage areas too. So as stated, this is a change order. I will not call it phase 2 any longer because Bob hates it. And Gabe, if you're still on the line, if you want to, is he still on the line?
Yeah.
If you want to chime in from the budget piece.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, there's I think the board should be aware of the total, potential cost in that third year now. But as Chief mentioned, there's some potential savings, and I think too, when we look, kind of that far out, we've got, the investment earnings that our capital fund is earning also too. That's kind of really not totally factored into our plan. We've got a conservative amount in there. The overages are definitely help kind of support these types of things that occur that are outside of the budget. But ultimately, the capital plan does have adequate funding to support the totality of this expense.
So questions for the chief or Mr. Bolger?
Yes.
Diane?
Can you just give us a review of, this is a change order, so what's the budget entirely for this and for each year?
So for the original scope of work to replace our current system was $2.49 million. And then adding this additional, so it's 3.9 and change is the total package with the add-ons and the upgrades, if you will. And the second part of your question. Oh, as it relates to our current budget. So say 2.5 divided by 2 is what? 1.25 million. And we budgeted 1.65 million this year and next. Building in contingencies if something came up. It's just the fact of the matter is the scope of work change to enhance the system because of some additional sites exceeded what we anticipated for contingencies.
And like you said, it ties in, annexation, changes on the city side of the house.
Yes.
Other questions?
Chief, you mentioned that the original estimate from a report you got, a many-page report, was something like 24 or in that vicinity of 20+ million, and then Mr. Moats was able to bring it down to 8. But you just talked about 3.4. So
No,
where's the rest?
let me clarify. The 24 million was them stating we needed 15 telecom employees. It was 250,000 and them writing policies for us. It was the totality of it. Specific to what we're talking about tonight, the Pegasus report indicated it would be about 8.4 million to do what Bob has indicated we're going to do for 3.9.
So it's not 8 point. This is quite excellent.
No,
This is quite excellent.
it is significantly different.
Significantly less.
And then, yes, and then there's a couple, separate from the radio update, there's some tower upgrades we're going to do that are infrastructure to us, not specific to radios, that are already budgeted in other capital line items in our budget. So they're already planned for.
Okay.
But I hope I keep saying 18 months to staff, because I think that's when we hit altitude. And we start to focus purely on future, but I am very excited to report out the totality of the upgrade as being substantially less than the Pegasus report. So, and then specific to what is currently in progress with the radio upgrade, they are building racks right now in Washington. They can't do final build out until they get the frequencies locked in. And the FCC, because of the government closure, while they were closed, they had a systems outage. And so they were, I know, I feel like I'm making it up right now, but, so Bob anticipates by mid-January, we hope to secure the frequencies, and then that's the final launch code to get the racks buttoned up and ready to ship. And then the expected timeline is then racks are beginning to ship, and we store them on site. Our radio techs go back to Zetron, get specific training for these racks, and then they're bringing out what I call a SWAT team in July, August timeframe, and then the system will be installed, and then there'll be what's anticipated to be like a 2-day, everybody's at sites and all flip the levers. And so that's what we're hoping for. By this time next year, I'll be reporting to you that the radio system is upgraded. Yes.
So I'm still back to basics. My understanding is the whole project went down to 3.9 million. And then you're doing a change order. There's a change order request now for 1.395 in addition to that.
No. So, and I want to be clear, Pegasus is a consulting firm, and they consult and they built the system. They built the system we need based on their parameters, their equipment, their analysis, and that's where the big number came from. Bob then sourced the Zetron Codan folks to develop a system that mirrors what Pegasus recommended we needed. And the initial piece of it was 2.4 and change, plus this 1.3. So the total is 3.9. But because of our contingencies, the ask is not to exceed 692. Please.
Yeah, so there's, at the end of the day, whether it's the Pegasus system or it's the system that we build, there's a performance standard that has to be met. The initial equipment purchase, we basically looked at the contract being an equipment-based purchase or contract versus a performance contract. It was anticipated what we would need. Once the additional, the collaborator stuff came in and frequency changes and where tower locations had to be added and equipment had to be added to not only ensure that the performance standard was met, but make sure that that performance standard wasn't going to be end of life, or that we didn't have to replace different pieces of equipment midstream between one phase and the other. That's where that additional cost came from. So it is still maintaining the same performance standard. It's just spec'd differently to make it where it is more durable and it doesn't have to be replaced again, or parts of it replaced when we go to that next phase.
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
I'm more
I didn't know if
basic
that
than
made
that.
sense.
I'm just really trying to understand the math and
Yeah.
and I thought I had it.
Yeah.
And then you said something that made me
No,
not. So we're up to 6 million? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. So it's 3.9, but the additional ask that has not been currently recognized in the Sedona Fire District budget is $692,000.
So there's
And that
3.2.
692,000, we're gonna ask for that when?
Well, there's multiple schools of thought. I'm confident that to Gabe's point, with investment earnings and with unrecognized project goals over the next 2 years, we're going to absorb most of that. However, the manufacturer, the contractor, Zetron, has offered the option for third year financing at 0% for the 692. If we get to the point where we need to recognize financing that, I have a high level of confidence with our capital outlay and with investment earnings and like I said, unrecognized project goals, we're going to be able to absorb that sooner. But we have that contingent piece, if you will, if we have to go to a third-year funding mechanism to support the project.
Are you comfortable now? Good. So I want to be sure you get it.
Vaguely. Yeah.
But we know the total cost is 3.9 million
And change.
and change, yes.
Yeah.
And change.
I could make a motion. Does that
I think
seem right?
we're ready to make a motion, yes.
Okay, so I move to approve the change order for the, excuse me. For the Zipton radio infrastructure project in the amount of $1,396,025.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Excellent. Any further discussion, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Change order is approved. So now we need to move to the second item, which is a possible approval to initiate the fire code adoption process to replace the current 2012 International Fire Code with the 2024 International Fire Code.
I will pass this wiffle ball to Kirk.
This will be a little easier. So just a little back study here, back history. Right now, we are in the 2012 fire code. Fire code changes every 3 years because takes 3 years to catch up to what's going on 3 years back when they write this thing. So kind of an example is the 18 code, which is the current right now. Actually, 21 is the current right now. Barely reflects battery storage systems, solar, and those things. Where the 24 now, they realize what they've got to change to make things right is in the 24. So the code sets have been changed 4 times since we adopted it in 2012. So 15, 18, 21, and now 24. So we need to move into the 24. We will be joining the cities and pretty much the state of Arizona, Yavapai County, Verde Valley, Copper Canyon. Everyone is moving to the code. And the whole plan is to get everyone on the same code set by the beginning. Nobody's going to be right there.
And we need a motion to do that.
Yes, we do.
Well, I want to clarify, so the motion we're asking for tonight is to initiate the process.
I'm asking for your approval to begin the process of adopting the 24 code. I do have a letter and my code amendments sent to the state farm marshal's office. Just hasn't been back yet.
What this means is, work in concert with the state fire marshal, green light it, and then there's a public comment period that is part of this process, and we have to enter into that for 20 days. And there's all kinds of statutory things, and then our intent is to bring it to you in January for approval and adoption of the 2024 code. This is giving us permission to start the process.
I mean, you're saying you're bringing us in January, given there's a public comment period and all of that happening?
Maybe February, but we might be, depending
Yeah, I
on the
think
state
it's-
fire marshal, might be able to publish for public comment soon enough to be on the January board meeting.
Okay,
But if we gotta push. to
we
February,
won't
that's-
hold you to it.
Yeah,
Okay. Other questions?
It's
All
very
right.
straightforward.
Yes.
well, and I guess the hesitation in my voice is, it's, if we open up a public comment period and we get a bunch of feedback from our contractors, say, this is crap, we don't want to go to this, we don't believe it, then it adds complexity to the process, but that historically hasn't been the case here.
Okay.
But you always gotta leave it open for option.
So,
I'd like to make a motion.
all right,
I move that we start the process to consider replacing the current 2012 IFC with the 2024 IFC.
good. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Go to it, Kirk.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Congratulations, you're done.
All right. Okay. So Chief will go into the section on board member updates and ideas for future meetings. I'm gonna give you the first item.
Yeah. So, 2026 Fire Board meeting design. Last year we changed the time of the meetings to 3 o'clock. The historical perspective is we had pushed our board meetings to 4:30, 5:30, sometimes 6 o'clock over the years. For different reasons. When we had a period of instability, we would pack this house. Bill probably remembers those days. And,
Hair back then.
yeah, and the thought was that thou shalt have your meetings after working hours so that the public can attend. Well, for a variety of reasons, we moved our board meetings to 3 o'clock. Now, organizationally, and as part of our draft strategic plan, it's been identified that we want to evaluate the totality of our processes, whether it's how we manage contract negotiation to paying bills to, payable accounts payables receivable to everything in operations, all the stuff Jordan's doing. And so with that, wanted to look at the board meeting format. And then in addition to that, we have new sets of eyes. And, Christie's been in the court system and seen a lot of different functional stuff, and she's pretty darn smart. And so as we look at all of our processes across the organization, she dove into a bunch of different special taxing districts, primarily fire districts, but looked at school districts and just form and function of the meetings. And just valuing your time and valuing the potential public interests and their time, we just looked at a cleaner thing and a cleaner idea, a concept, if you will. And one of the thought processes was Chief Coyle, Chief Baker, Chief Lukowski, a lot of their reportables don't cleanly fit in the 4-week window between board meetings. They're generally more of the substance is recognized over a 2 or 3 month period. So the thought is that we propose having quarterly updates from the divisions and then the monthly updates, the statutory requirements, financial reports, things like that, stay in a monthly format. And it was really just a process piece. And it forced me to look at, a bunch of different fire districts. And what I looked at 6 districts that we use for wage studies and for a lot of other comparable mechanisms. And what caught my eye is their average board meeting is 61 minutes. So I said, well, what are we doing so different? It's not about making it shorter necessarily, but it's about making it more concise, valuing your time, frankly, having a sales pitch for board vacancies down the road. I can say, hey, here's the commitment level. And so forth. And so, as I've now clearly, hopefully articulated to all of you, this was just a proposal from staff based on some aggregate feedback from board members, from research, and from just the totality of our organization wanting to just streamline process. And that's where we're at. So I asked that based on some very strong opinions, we agendize it to have an open discussion.
Great. And I think that's great. And what I'd like to do is hear from my fellow board members.
Well, I don't need to see the weeds every session. If a constituent were to approach me with that particular query, well, that's what you're there for. And then you broadcast the staff and get back. Now, that's because I have to live on the metric side, another hat that I wear. And it basically, stops with the ops chief, and that's the end of this. They roll with it however they want to go. And all it does for me is I look at variations in certain metrics, and I'm like, well, there's so much. This opens the door for so much discussion that just as a member of the board, I don't need to see it. I don't want to see it. If I need to, there's a text number where you're on the other end, or a phone call. And that's the way I like to conduct business on this side of the house. Now, I can be here 3 hours if you want me to. And I will thoroughly enjoy it, and I will make sure that my statutory duties are fulfilled to the down to the T. That's just, I personally, looked at it, and, that was essentially my assessment.
I'm curious, specifically, what would you prefer not to see?
I don't need to see so much data generated month by month across the board when it comes to variations in response time, variations in, go back. The aggregate from 1 month to the next in, say, dispatch handling, response, and turnout, I can see that every quarter. And because that's going to give me a more firm number. Okay, what's going on here? We just lost 30 seconds, or we just gained 2 minutes here. Now, even before it gets to that point, I already know our command staff's going to be on it because we've delegated that accordingly, and that's the expectation.
Okay, so it's mainly just that set of about 3 slides that you'd like to see not being part of the meeting.
It's just, I see it as, we're just consuming time.
Okay.
All right, other comments and thoughts?
Well, Chief, when we met, you had a suggestion about the quarterly, that our assistant chiefs present quarterly rather than monthly. And I just, as a board member, I feel like those reports inform me about the operations of SFD so that I can make better decisions when it comes to voting or to answering questions from the public. So I like those monthly reports from our chiefs, division chiefs. I do think there's room perhaps for them being more concise, or perhaps picking and choosing what gets shared if there's a need among this board for them to be shorter. I actually appreciate what they are at this point. In terms of the data slides that board member over there would like to have be gone, I could see a quarterly report on those. I could see that working. If that helps, although I don't think that takes up much time. That's the only thing I'm wanting to say, that in terms of the time that those data points do, it's maybe 4 to 4 minutes. So if you're looking to shorten the meeting, that wouldn't be.
It's not about shortening a meeting, ma'am. It's about simply cleaning this up so we can have a more accurate representation on a quarterly basis.
Okay.
And as I say, the way I do business is I delegate, and the professionals know their business because their pay depends on it, their career depends on it, and their morals and the gravitas of their professional commitment. That's on you. If there's something that's going to significantly jump out, then I already know that you all will have a handle on it. I mean, it's been demonstrated month after month after month. We see these little minuscule variations. It could be because, as you say, dispatch was bogged down because of training up a bunch of new recruits. I don't need to know that. I understand that because I've lived that life for almost 30 years. I understand it. I just see the value in a 90-day metric. Now, let's say second month in, and board, I need to bring to your attention that we've actually are experiencing a significant variation over historical trend and turnout time. And in our assessment, it is X. Does that sound reasonable?
No, I understand. And I want to reiterate the fact that our current legacy staff, and in addition to that, Christy and Elise and Gwen and all our new staff have hit the ground running. And I think the only real understandable direction I've given is that the concrete is not set on anything we do or how we do it. And if you, with your experience, have an idea that can improve process in this organization, then we're open to change. We are not, this is how we do it because this is how we do it. And then, like I said, for me, I got feedback from board, and then frankly, I think I told Helen this. What struck me a couple months ago, I was in the monthly city and town managers meeting and mayor's meeting, and they were all lamenting about how they can't find electeds. And we have a vacancy coming up, and so that was another feeder for me. I was like, how do we tighten up the process so that it's clean and concise, and it's an advertising piece for volunteering for an elected position. And again, this is an idea. And I'm glad we're having the conversation because it just want to add value to all the things we do.
Yeah, Diana.
I think, having been here a year now, I think our primary responsibility is the budget and the chief's evaluation and hiring. Am I wrong about that in terms of?
It's almost just statute
No.
language specifically.
I think that's right. And what I'm interested in are board meetings that set about to inform us how to make good decisions related to those two topics. And so I'd like to see a bit of background in what we're being asked to do in terms of budget and how it impacts everything else. But for instance, we're talking about building a station, maybe 2 stations in the near future. That's a lot of budget. And I think that the focus of the meeting should be in what's necessary policy-wise and financially to make that happen. And that's not to say that the current information isn't important, but I think it needs to be wrapped into the thrust of what we're spending money on and how we're doing that.
That ties, I would argue, Helen, that ties into the conversation we had in strategic planning. And we had our re-kickoff for the strategic plan. And our intent is to deliver those strategies and goals to the board early 26. And then that template will inform how we deliver information to the board. And then the board will use that information and progress related to the strategic plan to evaluate how I am, initiating these different activities and working with staff to get things done. So that seems to align exactly with what we discussed with the strategic plan this week. So that's good to hear.
Scott,
Like it?
what do you like?
No, actually, I'm comfortable with it right now, how it's going well. And we all seem to be able to say what we want to say. But if something changes, I can still be flexible.
Did you want to add anything, Corey, or are you comfortable?
Well, comfortable.
No, I
With
mean,
what?
you responded
Yes.
to Lance, and I didn't
Yes.
know if you wanted to say anything else.
I like what you just talked about, Diana, that, our main focus, although there's all those subcategories that go
Yes.
in and we're mandated to look at salary scales, and policy. So there's a lot more than just budget and hiring the chief. So but I like the focus that you brought to it. What I would say is I am content and appreciate the kind of board meeting we have because it informs me as a board member in more detail than one that would be an hour long, especially when we have wonderful badge pinnings that take up about 15 minutes, and I wouldn't want to give those up because they're very wonderful to watch. So I'm content with what we have. If there's a concern about the board meeting being too long, I think we could maybe perhaps shorten, but not change to quarterly, but shorten the reports from each of our division chiefs.
if it pleases the board, I'll tell you what Diane said, I took some notes that the quarterly update should be structured to give the board level appropriate visibility into outcomes, trends, and risks rather than day-to-day activity. So governance remains focused on direction and oversight, not management. This is kind of what I heard. And
So I have a slightly different take, not completely different. And I think, Diana, I really like what you said. I also think that being able to do what we're asked to do, which is, as you say, oversee the budget and to oversee, if you will, oversee and manage the chief, we have to know what's going on. Otherwise, we're not responsible board members. We do need to know what's happening on a broader scale. Doesn't mean we have to be in the weeds. Doesn't mean we have to be doing it. It just means we need to be informed. And I think to address your concern, I don't think anyone, and I know you don't, begrudge the time for board meetings. And I think being efficient is a great idea. I think it makes sense perhaps to look at the amount of time, with all due respect, that our division chiefs do a bit with, and focus, particularly if we move to what you and I've talked about with the strategic plan as being a focus, that the activities that the division chiefs are doing that relate to the strategic plan and the progress towards that, that becomes something that is meaningful and important to us. The other thing, I guess, that I look at these meetings is that the city of Sedona is a very informed community. I think we'd all agree, and vocal community. And they look to be informed about what we're doing. And in the past, there's been activism. And I believe that by keeping the board informed, we're also keeping the citizens of Sedona informed about what the fire district is doing and why the changes we're making to training, how we've got, engineers testing, and we're going to have turnover because of the retirement issue. I mean, so I believe personally that in a city like Sedona, which is different from lots of places in Arizona, it's important that our public is able to hear what's going on at perhaps a more detailed level, but it doesn't have to be a long meeting. So what I'm hearing out of this is that we need to be more efficient. We need to have a focus on the responsibilities of the board, perhaps as articulated through not only our tasks of budget and overseeing the chief's performance, but also accomplishing the strategic plan, which is how we'll evaluate your performance. So if I can pull a consensus from this, I'm hearing that reducing the time spent on some sections of the board meeting are good, and perhaps looking at how we realign it when we've got the new strategic plan.
We've got some ideas for that. Then we'll do that.
Does that, to my fellow board members, seem like what we were talking about and what you heard? Yeah. Okay. So I think we have beginnings of a consensus. I don't think it's quarterly, but I think it's shorter, more compact, more succinct, but still informative.
There are a lot of examples and models of what you just described with comparable fire districts that we can lean on to inform how we move.
Right.
Can I
Good.
ask a
Yeah.
question? On our agenda, we have February 17th start meeting 4:30.
Yeah.
What is that?
And I'll get to that, but the reason for it, you heard the Division Chief Baker talk about the Engineer Assessment Center. Because of the timing and what's involved with the Engineer Assessment Center, please feel free to, the chief said, can we move the meeting back to a one-time start at 4:30?
It's not, it's the one time.
Yes,
The
it's a
one right about.
one-time start.
Yeah. Great.
Every February meeting. No, it's just,
Yeah.
it's a 2 week, it's a 2 week eating an elephant with no teeth and no utensils.
And if we didn't add in the 17th, it would have pushed it into Friday for a lot of staff. It's not working normally, would have had to come in. And
It's basically just giving you more time to get that done.
if we get a half a day, we're gonna be
Right.
able to accomplish it in 3, whether, otherwise we'd be into Friday.
Understood.
Yeah, as
Great.
long as it's not the 14th, we're good.
A couple of other items. You will find in your packets the revised board bill pay calendar. I urge you to look at it because it is not a seamless rollover from where we are now. It is different. So if like me, you programmed your phone to every 4 weeks on a certain date, starting on a certain date, this doesn't match, so you need to change it.
I check mine all the time anyway, just in case.
Yeah, good. Well, I just thought I'd let you know. The other thing,
And the reminders, that morning are very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Good to know.
thank you. And lastly, a couple meetings ago, I presented a draft board calendar to you. Here is the final board calendar. There was no feedback, and so there were no changes. All I did was take the draft off of it. Are there any other things that the board wants to cover under board member updates and ideas for future meetings? Okay, with that, then what I would like to say is happy holidays. Have a safe, festive, and delicious holiday season. And the meeting is adjourned.